This is the Detroit Sports Podcast Network.
The biggest icon in podcasting.
Welcome in, everybody, to another episode of the DocNJock Wrestling Podcast. This is episode 177. Actually, this is your Wrestlemania preview show. This show is going to be jam-packed today. We've got some news and notes, of course, going on. But today is the day. It is WrestleMania Day 1. WrestleMania has now become a 2-day extravaganza. Vince McMahon feels like, hey, you love wrestling, I love wrestling, I'm going to give you more wrestling, and I'm going to get all these ad revenue dollars. So I'm going to make it 2 nights long. So we're going to preview nights 1 and 2 of WrestleMania. Of course, we're going to take a look at the go-home shows for both Raw and SmackDown. We also had a great double night of NXT. I got some questions about the Hall of Fame induction. You know we got to take a look at Impact and AEW. Doing it with me, as always, he's the one, he's the only, he's back from vacation. He is the Doc, John Macaroon. What's up, cuz?
I'm excited. Tonight, it's WrestleMania. And guess what, cuz? The biggest factor that we got to talk about, 25,000 fans both nights. I can't wait to see who the first entrance will be. 8 o'clock, 7 o'clock pre-show. I will be there right in front. I'm excited. Now, the build-up basically sucked for a lot of these matches for over the 2 nights, but who cares? It's WrestleMania. Let's get hyped. We got a lot to talk about, and cuz, a lot of shake-up in the world of wrestling, which we will talk about, but damn near, cuz, we're going to watch wrestling based on this new schedule of shows that are airing. Damn near Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. And then if there's pay-per-views, Saturday and Sunday. There'll be days where you could potentially watch wrestling 7 days a week. It is crazy right now. It's time.
It's absolutely nuts. Absolutely nuts. And we're going to kind of adjust the way we normally do this. Normally we start off with SmackDown, then we go into Raw. We're going to flip the script because those were the go-home shows of the biggest wrestling event on this continent. WrestleMania is the biggest wrestling event that takes place here in North America. New Japan has fantastic shows, and they have all kinds of crazy stuff with their Wrestle Kingdom programming that takes place in the beginning of the year. But WrestleMania here in the United States is the biggest wrestling show of the year. So we're going to flip the script a little bit for WrestleMania and for this WrestleMania show. We're going to start off with Impact. I want to get your Impact review. I want to get a couple takes that you took away from Impact. What'd you like? What didn't you like? Is Impact still trending in that upward direction, or have they kind of stalled out a little bit?
Well, guess what happened? Unfortunately, when NXT decides to move to Tuesday, Impact says to themselves, we can't let that happen, so they move to Thursday, which is
way to blow the cover off one of the biggest stories we have in news and notes, even though it was dropped last week. But go ahead.
We have to, because I was like, where's Impact? It's like, no, they quickly, they're like, NXT on Tuesday, whoop, we gotta move to Thursday. And it's fine, I get it, but it just adds another day. I'm like, shit, what the hell? Just stick on Tuesday. You know, it's not like you're gonna lose that much more of the audience, but I get the decision. But they didn't start off well at all. They had a miss to start. The way I'll describe this, and I'm gonna keep it short, is that it culminated in a great main event with Kenny Omega and the Good Brothers, and they took on Kenny Omega and the Good Brothers took on Swan, Mac, and Edwards, and it was a culmination. It built up throughout the night, but getting there was awful. You had Alicia Nevaeh and Tenille Dashwood taking on Havoc, Jordan Grace, and Rosemary in a match that just disappointed at the highest levels. It wasn't that good. Matt Cardona took on Jake Something. It was okay with Matt Cardona going over, but it was not that impressive. I was really kind of disappointed with it. You get then, the show then starts to take a turn when Miguel and Sami Callihan defeated Triple XL. It was a good match, dynamic storytelling, and it was at least something that got you moving in the right direction. But then a lot of it was average. I mean, Diener took on Chris Sabin with Sabin going over. It was fine, but not too much going on there. I was like, what's going on here with the show? Then you get to the culmination of what everybody wants. It was kind of like, let's kind of have a middling kind of show, and then boom, a nice main event where Kenny Omega and the Good Brothers take on Rich Swann, Willie Mack, and Eddie Edwards, and Swann, Mack, and Edwards go over. And it was hyped, it was good, it was action-packed, and it culminated with, the ending there where you had an unbelievable opportunity there for the Impact guys to go over. And I thought it was a very good ending. But overall, I felt like if you're making a move to Thursday and maybe some people say, okay, let's check this out, you probably, all you had to do was run the same show, same card, but put that match first. That's it. Have that match kick off. Let everybody see this is what our show's about. To kick off the show with the women and to have a kind of a disappointing match where the women kind of have been gaining momentum. But in this one, it makes for a C-plus show. It wasn't a good Thursday night debut for me in my mind, but that's what it was. But I'm curious to see how they rebound because of the fact that they got a lot of good things at the top, but the middle to the bottom still kind of needs more rounding out. And basically when the shows go, unfortunately the matches got to be a little bit better and they got to deliver a lot more. So I give it a C-plus this week.
So Impact's debut episode, quite average for a Thursday night. Really could have switched things around and probably gave us a better card per the doc. Now let's jump into AEW. And I thought AEW did a really good job. And I thought they did a fantastic job with this week's show. But coming out of it, I was left taking away a couple of different things. And really, it wasn't even any of the in-ring action. It was other things. It was other storylines. I was more involved with storylines and this promo by Chris Jericho, which I think might go down as one of his best ever. Chris Jericho cut a heated promo on the Pinnacle, specifically MJF. You had Mike Tyson come out. Mike Tyson looked like he was in great physical shape. Mike Tyson as a wrestler, left me wanting a lot more. But Chris Jericho's promo was fantastic. His face was beet red. He was fired up. I thought his promo was absolutely incredible. I wanted to know what you thought about Jericho's promo, and is he doing some of his best work that we've seen in his entire career?
No doubt about it, and I think that the thing that maybe many people will gravitate toward is the believability. It doesn't come off that you think this is here's a script, read this, and let's just go on to the next segment. You can tell that he's putting a lot into it, and you can tell probably that there's maybe a little bit of truth to it, that I bet MJF has probably pissed off Chris Jericho a little bit in real life in regards to the bravado and things like that. And there's always maybe sometimes the best angles have a little bit of truth to it. And so I would assume that maybe there's a little bit of truth to this kind of angle that we got going on, and I like it. It was absolutely solid. But I'm not terribly surprised because Chris Jericho is just among the best. And I think he's one of those guys that doesn't sit on his laurels and goes, okay, I'm Chris Jericho. I've had a 20-year career and I'm one of the best living legends of all time. He's like, okay, how do I reinvent myself? How do I go out there and win this segment? How do I keep our audience? How do I earn this contract? And so for him to do that, I think was just amazing. And like you said, I think it was just the highlight of the show.
Yeah, Chris Jericho's one of those guys where you can look at some of the greats, right? Like, I don't think Ric Flair has ever been anybody but Ric Flair. Hulk Hogan was Hulk Hogan, and he was Hollywood Hulk Hogan, and that was about it. Andre the Giant was just Andre the Giant. And those guys I just named are basically on everybody's Mount Rushmore of wrestling. Chris Jericho is a guy who you can go through and you can name 5 different characters that he's portrayed or 5 different mentalities that he has brought to your television screen, whether it be the Y2J Chris Jericho, whether it be the Chris Jericho that was with Kevin Owens, whether it be this Chris Jericho who's leading the Inner Circle, whether it be Lionheart Chris Jericho when he was in WCW and ECW. Chris Jericho has constantly evolved from basically day one, and he's one of the best ever done. That's why he is my favorite all-time wrestler, and I get a lot of slack about that because there's guys like Shawn Michaels and there's guys like Ric Flair, there's guys like Hulk Hogan, but Chris Jericho is my number one wrestler of all time just because of his ability to constantly reinvent himself. And Chris Jericho's promo basically spilled over into this massive faction drama, right? So you have Inner Circle versus Pinnacle. Later on in the evening, like I mentioned before, Mike Tyson comes out to save Chris Jericho. Chris Jericho is in the back getting interviewed, and next thing you know, You have the Pinnacle just taking him out. Nowhere to be found is the Inner Circle. They drag him out to the middle of the ring and start laying hands to him. You have Mike Tyson come down, and like I said, Mike Tyson looked like he was in really good shape. He looked like he was in good shape, but his wrestling ability, this is obviously something that is not new to him, and pulling a punch is something Mike Tyson doesn't know how to do. So it looked weird. It looked almost robotic. And I was like, man, this is a really great storyline. Now, you compare and contrast that to what took place for the main event of the evening with the Elite. So you have the Young Bucks teaming up with Jon Moxley, taking on the Good Brothers and Kenny Omega. And you have this internal struggle as Matt and Nick Jackson just can't finish Kenny Omega, right? Like, they have him all set up for the double sweet chin music. They've got him set up at different points. Matt can basically finish Kenny Omega, but he can't bring himself to do it. Finally, Jon Moxley gets pissed, tags himself, and is like, I'll take care of it. And gives him three DDTs, lays him out. Next thing you know, you have Matt and Nick Jackson turning on Jon Moxley. And when the show closes, you've got the Good Brothers and Kenny Omega going in for a 2-sweet. Matt and Nick Jackson won't do the 2-sweet. They'll hug it out. It's really weird because you're not quite sure what's going on with the Elite right now. And is that family back together? Are they still split? Is there still some harsh feelings? Which has me on the edge of my seat because you have two great storylines with great drama. And I want to know which one has you more intrigued. Is it Inner Circle versus the Pinnacle, where you've got some of the biggest, meatiest bruisers going up against each other? Or is it the Elite that almost feel like they're spiraling out of control, but are being held together by threads and might break away from each other at any moment?
You said it absolutely correct. Both are amazing. Just for me personally, for no reason, is that I'm just curious about the Pinnacle because I'm just a huge MJF guy. I think he's the future heel. I think that he's one of the best around, and he's somebody that when he's on the screen, you just want to see what he's going to say. What is he going to do to piss people off? I loved it, I think last week or so when he was having the speech in the locker room and then Chris Jericho and the crew were hiding out in the bathroom. And then you're like, oh my God, he's going to get his comeuppance. He's like, oh, we got to go. And it was really good, him talking about suits and things like that. The Elite and the Young Bucks, it's been good, but it's kind of been playing out now over several weeks. And it is kind of this back and forth, like, okay, are they together? Are they not? But it's interesting because of the fact that you're tying back to old feelings and factions and things like that. But I loved it that they turned on Jon Moxley because of the fact that, hey, you love an underdog and you have an opportunity now to have Jon Moxley come back and get over on these guys for turning on him. So all in all, great. But for me personally, I just love the Pinnacle versus the Chris Jericho faction, the Inner Circle, because of the fact that it's going to be fascinating to see what happens. By and large, though, I think the Pinnacle needs to kind of get over on this one. The Inner Circle is good, but I'm curious to see where they jump off if they don't win the angle, because of the fact that they've kind of taken a little bit of a step back, in regards to when they first started. They could have been really big, but it's kind of cooled down just ever so slightly. I don't know if they need the win to kind of keep their momentum going, but the Pinnacle, I think, needs to kind of get over so they can jump off and maybe have a real solid run the rest of the year.
Yeah, and I'm kind of in lockstep with you there because this is a brand new faction. You really want to set them up for success. Best way to do that is to get a big win over a rival, and the Inner Circle is their biggest rival, obviously to date, but I think it's a great story that shows that the Inner Circle will probably be their biggest rival going forward. I find both the Inner Circle and Pinnacle to be extremely interesting because they're both headed up by guys who are very, very similar. And I think MJF's growth as a professional wrestler has been absolutely incredible. Remember, MJF was a guy that nobody really knew about. He showed up in a couple of the Elite skits as Cody Rhodes' underling, basically. And he would come to the ring with Cody Rhodes. He ends up turning on Cody Rhodes. We all knew that was going to happen at some point. And then you get this guy who kind of goes off, does his own thing. He tries to get into the Inner Circle forever and a day, finally gets accepted, and he seems like he's the co-leader of the Inner Circle with Chris Jericho, and it feels like he's trying to push Chris Jericho out at one point, only to have his own group rise up and to become the leader of a group that has some really high-quality talent in it. And these guys just really aren't being used. And I think the thing is, AEW is finding themselves in a spot similar to where WCW was at years ago, where you have all this really awesome talent. But how do you showcase it all in a 2-hour show? It becomes really, really difficult. And you don't really want to go into that third hour, because we've seen what happens when you go into that third hour. People just tune out. It's just too much. So you always want people coming back for more. So how do you get all this talent on screen and doing different things to, one, highlight their own brand, but two, highlight your brand and keep everything moving forward? And I think this is a great way. And this is something that I think Tony Khan and I think a lot of the guys who are at the very, very top of AEW and run things picked up from New Japan. You do these different factions, and you're allowed to showcase a ton of guys at one time. Everybody gets screen time. Everybody's getting paid. Everybody is basically in the front of everybody who's watching's mind. And I think this is a fantastic way to do that. For me, I'm kind of in lockstep with you. I think the Inner Circle versus the Pinnacle is absolutely fantastic. I think in the end, we kind of all know what's going to happen with the Elite. Whether it goes one way or the other, I think the Young Bucks probably do end up back with Kenny Omega. There's just too much history there. And at some point, I could see them turning on Kenny Omega. We'll see what ends up happening there, but I think right now what has me gripped is Inner Circle versus Pinnacle. Now, NXT had a absolutely fantastic 2-night affair. Thought it was really, really good. But I think there was some missteps in putting it all together, and I want your take. Did NXT miss an opportunity by airing night 2 of Takeover Stand and Deliver on the Peacock app? Now, I get what the purpose of it was. It was to try to drive those subscribers numbers up. It was, they even gave a discounted rate. It was a way to get everybody to tune in for WrestleMania. This is basically your big, pre-show main event for WrestleMania. I don't care what took place on SmackDown. Don't care what took place on Raw. I was telling my girlfriend the other day, I was like, at this point, like, I don't even give a shit what takes place on Monday Night Raw. I don't give a shit what takes place on SmackDown. I don't care to watch either of those shows. The only thing I really care about is AEW and NXT, and that's just because I think some of the best wrestling, some of the best storytelling you're getting is on both of those two programs. So all that being said, for me, because I don't have the Peacock app. Now, me and you know different ways to get different things, and we can watch everything. And little wink, wink, hush, hush there. But for me, I felt like it was a bit of a misstep by not giving us night 2 of Stand and Deliver, and by forcing people to go and get that Peacock app. But from a business standpoint, I get it. What's your thoughts on it?
Oh, I'm surprised you didn't sign up for the cock. I'm really surprised. But you know, I
mean, judging by the way you've been talking the last couple of weeks, you love the cock. So
yeah, exactly. I've been on it way earlier. I signed up for it because of the fact that it was something I wanted to see the pay-per-views, and I like Punky Brewster, some old stuff, so I recommend it. Because of the fact I was already paying for the network, so it just moved over, and it gets a little bit extra. So it's like I gained the WWE network back and some, but they gotta do a lot more. And I'm reading too, which sucks, is they don't want really the violence. They may, from what I'm hearing, if there's blood, they may blur it out, which sucks. It's a corporate situation, and they don't want things to be violent. So you could see potentially that some of these hardcore matches won't be portrayed the same on the new app. So I'm a little disappointed. I'm disappointed to hear that.
Yeah, they've already done some editing on some of the programming that WWE has given them. Yeah, it'll be interesting to see what they do with some of the ECW matches. Because
yes.
WWE even did some alterations to some of the ECW stuff, and that was WWE. So now you have a much more family-friendly network doing some retconning of history. I mean, ECW back in the day, I loved ECW. Me and my stepbrother would stay up late at night to watch it on, I think it was like channel 38. Might even been on channel 20, I don't know. But we would stay up late, just like 2 or 3 in the morning to watch ECW wrestling, and it was always a highlight. Francine was always one of my favorites. I thought she was fantastic looking.
Yeah, so after, you had night 1 where you had an unbelievable match between Walter and Tommaso Ciampa.
Yeah.
You then get the tease, and I get it. I don't think they missed the boat. I think you have to drive subscriptions, and you say, look, this is what we offer on night 1. We've had a great match. We've had just great storytelling. if you want more, if you want night 2, head on over to the app. And I think that's probably the best way that they wanted to do it. For me personally, I thought night 1 was a little bit better than night 2. Night 1 had awesome wrestling storytelling, and night 2, I love the title changes, and it made it so that if you missed it, then you psychologically say to yourself, darn, I missed something good because of the 2 title changes and a match that people are going to talk about in regards to a new star emerging in the main event there.
So I do want to talk about the title matches, but before that, you brought up something fantastic that I want to touch on. And you brought up Tommaso Ciampa and Walter in their match and how it was fantastic. And you thought night 1 was better than night 2, which I agree with you 100%. Now, I would love to line these cards up and run them down and go, just check which one you thought was better. We don't have the time for that because WrestleMania, we still have to do our preview and it's massive. But I want to ask you this because I think the setup match for what was the main event and what was of night 1 and what was the main event of night 2. I want to get your take on which match you thought was better because with the Adam Cole and the Kyle O'Reilly match, there was a lot of good there. But I think the timeline that they ran with, it was almost a 40-minute match. I think that kind of hurt it.
Yeah.
Because you had these guys basically going out there killing themselves for 40 minutes. The crowd was done at that point. And you have guys just basically murdering themselves to fans that are cardboard boxes. While you had a 15 to 16-minute match for Tommaso Ciampa and Walter, and it tore the house down. It was a freaking classic. So I think comparing night 1, night 2, I would give the checkmark to Tommaso Ciampa Walter on night 1, whereas you get a bit of a minus for what you got for night 2. And I was wondering if you agree or if you disagree.
Absolutely. The match should have been 27 to 30 minutes. The extra 10 minutes was a little bit too much for this generation. Now, in terms of the psychology, false finishes, amazing match. It's going to go down as one of the greats, and I think that they had the right thing. They did the right thing by having Kyle O'Reilly go over. It means something now, and you now have a new established top-end guy. Absolutely, but you didn't need to go 40 minutes. This generation's not going to like that. 27 minutes probably tops. You probably could have cropped out 10 minutes of that match. Hey, they did it. They went with it. I get it. But yeah, absolutely. Night 1 was better. And, unfortunately for Kyle O'Reilly and Adam Cole, like you said, the fans are part of the match and they were not. By the end, it was just kind of like, all right, when's this going to end? And you don't want that for a match of that magnitude. And they needed to definitely make adjustments there. 27 minutes is all you need, 27 to 30 minutes to tell a great story.
Yeah, I agree with you 110%. You don't need hours on hours of screen time. You don't. You just a couple minutes in and out, do some high spots. It'll be great. Now, the big thing coming out of NXT and they're basically their double night double header here with Takeover Stand and Deliver was the faces of NXT have changed. I think that was the massive thing coming out of this. Io Shirai and Finn Balor both have had long title runs, and both have been the face of NXT for quite some time. And we talked about Raquel Gonzalez getting a jetpack strapped to her back because Vince really likes her look, likes what she brings to the table. She got a huge win over Rhea Ripley a little bit ago, and I think that lets you know where she was at and where she was coming. And then you have Karrion Kross, who's been a guy who's been a champion before, was injured, had to drop his belt, and has now come back to reclaim his title. I want to know if you think it was the right decision to change the face of NXT at this pay-per-view right now.
Absolutely. It was great. It was, the culmination of the build for Karrion Kross. I think that Raquel Gonzalez is going to be awesome. I thought the match between Karrion Kross and Finn Balor was awesome. And so I think that Kross is now poised to have a deep run with the NXT title. And I think what should happen is potentially he should get the Asuka treatment. He shouldn't lose. He should just keep winning, and then just make his debut at the next year's WrestleMania. To be the guy, he's a big dude. I think he has the look, and I think that he's got the opportunity to be a star. Or the next time he loses should be the last night he spends in NXT. I think he's a big time dude, and one of the best entrances of NXT. The big mistake they made was why did not Adam Cole didn't come out to his music? I thought that was a major letdown. and I thought that was a major mistake on NXT's part. Look, I know the Undisputed Era is over, and you could potentially tie it to that, but I was looking forward to the boom. That's the best part that everybody gets excited for. You just have this 5-minute or 10-minute or so amazing montage highlighting their match, and then you don't get the payoff with the music. I thought that was a major stupid move on NXT's part. But by and large, besides the Adam Cole situation, I thought NXT handled themselves well. New stars emerged, and that's what you got to do. You got to keep it fresh. Basically kind of resetting the year, which basically culminates in WrestleMania. It's like the start of a new calendar year. What better way? But I thought it was a major mistake with Adam Cole's music.
Yeah, it is hitting the hard reset button, and this is something that I think New Japan does fantastic, right? When they have the Wrestle Kingdom show, it's basically a giant reset for the year, and that's what you've got with NXT. That's what this, I don't want to call it a pay-per-view, but like a pay-per-view, we'll call it a two-night affair. This is what their two-night affair was. Now, what did you think about having the Hall of Fame inductions on a Tuesday and a Wednesday night on the Peacock app? Now, normally, the Hall of Fame inductions is your Saturday night or your Friday night before WrestleMania. Obviously, WrestleMania now 2 nights long, so in this case, it would have to have been on a Friday night. Now, you are inducting 2 classes. This was the 2020 and the 2021 class, and they moved it to a Tuesday, Wednesday in the middle of it felt like it was the middle of the day for me.
Yeah.
It was weird.
The Hall of Fame is synonymous with Saturday. Come on. You don't change that up. Look, by and large, it's long, drawn-out speeches, and then for some god-awful reason, somebody decided to take the mixer and jam the volume all the way up when the fans were screaming, and it was like, we need to kind of bring that down like 10% because we know it's fake, and it's just weird, and it just kind of really felt kind of crazy that they just piped the noise that loud. By and large, I'll say this. The Hall of Fame is great. In the COVID era, unfortunately, you feel bad for Eric Bischoff. You feel bad for the NWO. But it just took the luster off of it for me. Nothing too memorable in my mind other than the fact that, hey, you had these people. JBL was cool to see. It was cool to see the NWO, Eric Bischoff doing his thing. The entrances are always great, but by and large, 20-minute speeches recapping everything. You could just go back and rewind it and hopefully catch it at a later time.
Yeah, for me, I feel like there's a way to do this, right? If you're going to run WrestleMania as a Saturday, Sunday night deal, you can make Saturday an all-day thing, right?
Friday. Or Friday,
yeah. Even if you wanted to do Friday night, that's fine too. My original thought was WrestleMania usually doesn't kick off until about 8. You can have your Hall of Fame run right up until 8. And usually the Hall of Fame only needs to be about 2 hours long. Now, this is a ton of wrestling for somebody to take in, but if you want it, it's there. I used to enjoy watching the Hall of Fame inductions when they would put it on USA when we were kids, but I don't know, I don't necessarily need to see the Hall of Fame induction because, like you said, it's basically video montages, which is what we've got, which we're going to talk a lot about with SmackDown, and it's long drawn out speeches, which is what we also got with SmackDown, which we're going to talk about here shortly. So I don't necessarily need it, but if you want it, do it on Saturday, have it kick off at 6, let it run till 8, and call it a freaking day. You know what I'm saying? Like you've got your own platform with Peacock. Peacock's going to need content, so give them content. There's content.
So I'm curious. Raw and SmackDown ran their go-home shows. Mm-hmm. How did they do, in your opinion? Before we get to the WrestleMania preview, how did they do to get the build going for one of the biggest shows in the company's history?
All right. So here's the deal. I thought these shows were absolutely awful. I thought both were awful. I thought SmackDown, I have a huge problem with SmackDown. I do want to spend some time getting into that. But to touch on Raw really quick, I thought what you have with Bobby Lashley and Drew McIntyre feels like it's almost an afterthought, right? Like it feels like they are trying to wedge this square block into this round hole because I'm not sure how this match is going to play out. We're going to have our predictions in a few moments. But somebody's getting crowned in front of some fans. And it feels like this is an opportunity to try to do it for one of these guys because WWE feels like they deserve it, right? Like Bobby Lashley's been with WWE for 16 years. Drew McIntyre has done some fantastic things. Wrestling was able to revamp his career and come back and was absolutely fantastic. Was your champion all throughout the pandemic when there was no fans. For me, it feels like this is a way to try to force some intrigue on a match that I just don't know if we necessarily need it. A lot of times good storylines just occur, and this one did not just occur. This one was definitely forced. I think for me, the thing that had me most interested, and the thing I liked the most on Raw specifically, because there was not anything I really liked on SmackDown, was the angle with Rhea Ripley and Asuka. Rhea Ripley basically says she forces this tag match between Shayna Baszler, Nia Jax, herself, and Asuka. And in the end, you were waiting for something crazy to happen. Rhea Ripley ends up turning on Asuka, throws her into the ring, basically throws her to the wolves, and lets Nia Jax and Shayna Baszler get the win here. And so Rhea Ripley basically goes full-blown heel with this one maneuver. I absolutely loved it, and for me, it built some intrigue to what this match might be. Other than that, these were both dumpster fires. And I want to talk about SmackDown. This is what I felt SmackDown was. SmackDown was video package, long drawn-out promo, video package, match nobody really cares about, long drawn-out promo, video package, match nobody cares about, video package, and you just repeated this for 2 hours. That was all it was. I was sitting down watching SmackDown, trying to put this show together, and trying to look for something for us to talk about.
Nothing. Yeah, basically, it was like, oh shit, we have a show.
I sent you the rundown.
Yeah.
Roughly 40 minutes before their show ended because I knew what was going to happen.
Yeah.
And looking at my watch, I was like, okay, the only thing I really probably care about is whatever's going to happen in the last 10 minutes maybe. Last 10 minutes, all it was a promo from Roman Reigns. That was it. There was nothing on this show. It was just a gigantic, it was basically every video package you're going to get tonight and tomorrow on this show.
It was like, we have a show to do shit, but we got a bigger show to do in 24 hours.
Yeah.
Let's just run some shit here and get by, and let's see if anybody will sit and watch it. Absolute disappointment, 100%. The matches on WrestleMania will deliver, and we're going to talk about it. But if you were going to try and bring in the casual fan off of these shows, you failed.
Oh, you definitely didn't do it.
You didn't do the job. And unfortunately, that's just the way it is. It's WrestleMania, so the week before, should we consider it a week where you should do and throw everything at it? But unfortunately, the way it is, it's kind of like allocating resources, and WWE didn't allocate a whole heck of a lot for their regular programming ahead of their big shows.
Dude,
which I don't get why, but that's what they did.
This is my problem with it. I remember when we were kids, and I remember we would have to save up in our piggy banks so we could talk our mom into allowing us to buy a pay-per-view. And I remember squirreling away as much money as I could. Right, I used to work at my grandpa's bar on Sunday mornings. I'd clean the bar with him, and he'd basically give me $10, $15. And if I did a really good job, he'd throw me a 20 spot. So I would squirrel away all my cash, and there'd be a pay-per-view, and it would get me hooked because on Monday night, you would have Stone Cold drive out to the ring with a beer truck and shoot beer all over the place. Or you would have some type of a crazy-ass angle with Shawn Michaels. And I was like, I've got to see what is going to transpire. Like, how is this going to... Like, you were left on the edge of your seat. You don't get that anymore. And I get that the way you look at things as a young child, the lens changes as you get older, right? You kind of can see through things. I think what we do for this show kind of takes some of the mystique away because really and truly with this card, we predicted how this card was going to play out just because we have to be so in tune to everything, right? Like there are matches on here that we called roughly a month and a half ago. So all that, it kind of takes some of that mystique away from it. And we're just maybe a little bit too knowledgeable about it.
Yeah,
and that kind of hurts it.
Yeah,
but all that being said, there is nothing here where I'm like, I've got to see this match. I've got to see what is going to take place.
The builds are terrible, but I think you and I both expect that the wrestlers will deliver because of the fact that, like we said, the fans are back, baby, and I'm excited to see it. I want to see who comes out first. Many people might believe it could be Sasha Banks and Bianca Belair. I don't care who it is.
Oh, no.
I know. We'll see who has it been announced. You'll tell me.
I'm going to tell you.
Okay, let's get into it. Night 1, WWE WrestleMania streams tonight on the Peacock app. Let's hope there's no streaming issues. I have a way to get it from my phone. Now you push a button, it goes right from your phone to the big screen. I want to watch it, no lag. If there's issues, I'm going to be highly upset. But let's get into it. Tell me something. Do you know about? Has it been announced who the first match is?
I don't know who the first match is, but I do know who the main event of night 1 is, and I am excited about it.
Yeah, baby.
So let's start with the WWE Championship match. We've got Drew McIntyre taking on Bobby Lashley. Now, all this kicks off at 8 o'clock tonight, like you said, on the Peacock app or the Peacock network, so you can stream it live. All right, WWE Championship. Drew McIntyre, who basically held the fort down all throughout the pandemic with 0 fans, wrestling in front of TV screens, versus Bobby Lashley. Who do you have winning this match?
This one's hard.
Yes.
Because
probably one of the hardest ones to pick.
This one's tough because Bobby Lashley looks legit as the champion. Mm-hmm. He disassembled the Hurt Business, which obviously I think was a terrible decision. It was solid. Do they go back to it? I think Bobby Lashley deserves more, but how do you have a match with Drew McIntyre in it in front of the fans and not let him get a celebration? As much as the right move would be to keep the belt on Bobby Lashley, you have to throw the bone to Drew McIntyre, new champion.
Yeah, I'm in the same, like you put it perfectly. Drew McIntyre held the fort down for over a year with no fans, and as legit as Bobby Lashley does look holding that belt and running the show, I love seeing Bobby Lashley in this position, but I think Drew McIntyre comes away the victor here.
Plus, you would do it again at SummerSlam and let Bobby take it.
Yeah, that's true. You could just have him exchange the belt back and forth. It's not going to hurt you, right? So I agree with you 100%. Now, we briefly mentioned that we knew what the main event was going to be. And the main event is going to be Bianca Belair versus Sasha Banks, which was something we called for, I want to say it was maybe 5 weeks ago. So I'm excited about this because out of all of the matches on this card for night 1, this I think has the ability to bring the entire house down. I think this is going to be an absolutely epic match. I think Bianca Belair, when it's all said and done and the dust all settles, I think she ends up leaving as the new women's SmackDown champion. And I've got a little tidbit for what could happen at the very, very end of tonight's WrestleMania in the news and notes. You're going to want to stick around for that. But I think Bianca Belair comes out the champion in this.
No, the Doc is not returning to WWE, but we'll see. I'm curious. Who's going to show up potentially? I'm curious to hear who you got on the docket. Yeah, I'm in lockstep. Bianca Belair. It's got to take it, baby. I can't wait to see that match.
All right, so now we've got the Raw Tag Team Championship match. This was a match that I think just kind of came from out of nowhere. It's weird because WWE has done a fantastic job of halting all of the momentum AJ Styles has had to basically get the New Day over and to help set up this tag team match where you've got the New Day versus AJ Styles in Amos. I think in this, AJ Styles and Amos come out the big winners here. What do you think?
Oh man. See, here's the thing. What are we going to get from this big giant? I'm curious to see how he wrestles. I know I say you can't bet against AJ Styles.
Mm-hmm. All the time you say that.
I know at WrestleMania too. Do you give him the tag team titles? Man, that's a good call on your part. I'll stick with that. I think AJ Styles and Amos, I think, are poised for a run. And why would you have him debut and then lose, right? It doesn't make any much sense. Character-wise, it doesn't make any sense. So AJ Styles and Amos get the title, baby. Let's go. Let's see what they do with it.
All right, so this was a match that we were calling for. We were calling this for this specific setup for weeks now, and it only made sense to us. And I think what you can see here is Vince truly does enjoy everything that Damian Priest brings to the ring, brings to your screen. This match, Bad Bunny and Damian Priest taking on The Miz and John Morrison, this is essentially a way to get Damian Priest over. Like, there's no two ways about it, right? Like,
exactly.
Bad Bunny is the draw here, but Damian Priest will be doing all of the wrestling, and this is a way to get him over. I think Bad Bunny and Damian Priest win this match. Obviously, Bad Bunny's debuting wrestling match, which I don't think he'll be doing a lot of wrestling, but I think Damian Priest is the guy who's going to shine in this match. And The Miz and John Morrison are two guys to really, really shine him up.
Yeah, see, here's the thing. Bad Bunny making a debut, do you get them the win, or do you have The Miz and John Morrison maybe do something to potentially get themselves disqualified or do a little cheating? It's tough, but you're absolutely right. Why would you bring in a celebrity? Usually the celebrities get over. So Bad Bunny and Damian Priest get the W at WrestleMania.
All right. Now we've got the steel cage match. And
that's, Braun Strowman, right?
Yeah,
he's going to mop the floor.
We're not going to spend any time on that.
Braun Strowman kicks his ass.
All right, what do you think about Cesaro versus Seth Rollins?
It's tough too, because I want Cesaro to go over, but Seth Rollins deserves to go over big time. I'm going Seth Rollins.
Yeah, I'll go Seth Rollins as well. It's the same thing, right? Like, I feel like Cesaro deserves it, but I think they see more. Obviously, they see more of a star in Seth Rollins than they do Cesaro. So I'm going to go Seth Rollins for the win here. All right, now we've got the tag team turmoil match for the women's tag team championship. The winner of this will get a shot to wrestle on Sunday on night 2 for the tag team championships. Sorry, my dog is doing some crazy shit. The Riot Squad versus Lana and Naomi versus Dana Brooks and Mandy Rose versus Natalya and Tamina and your surprise team that hasn't been announced yet. But WWE released a graphic, and it kind of lifted the veil on everything that's going to take place here. Carmella and Billie Kay will be involved in this match. And then whoever wins this gets to go on to face Nia Jax and Shayna Baszler on night 2. Who do you have winning this?
Man, that's tough, huh? There's like 3 teams that potentially could do it. I think Lana and Naomi have a chance. Dana Brooke, Mandy Rose,
but none of them you really care about.
Right, exactly. So let me just go with Dana Brooke and Mandy Rose. I think what better way to go with 2 nights of them on the big stage?
It's weird because I was quickly looking over this and I was like, who am I picking? And I seen Mandy Rose's name, and I know how Vince has this obsession with her. Like, Vince thinks she's basically like the next Sable. And whether it's true or not, I don't think it is, but whether it's true or not, she's got a great look, and she's extremely attractive. Dana Brooke, I don't think is a bad-looking girl. I don't think she's great in the ring, but she's not a bad-looking girl. I could see both of them winning this match, and I'm going to go with you. Dana Brooke, Mandy Rose, get the win here.
All right, baby. Night 1's going to be good. Has a chance to be better than night 2, but I think night 2 has the better card. And I think that they stacked it up pretty well in terms of the matches. So let's start with night 2, triple threat match. Universal title. You and I debated it. We said, should Daniel Bryan be in the mix? Well, he is. Disappointing to Doc at the hugest stage. But I think you and I maybe probably think the same as wrestling fans. Edge, baby. He comes back from injury and has had the ultimate, work situation in terms of the opportunities and the setbacks that he's had. Comes back at WrestleMania, gets his moment. Edge, new Universal Champion.
I don't necessarily disagree, but I'm not going Edge. I'm going to go Daniel Bryan.
Oh, okay.
And I feel dirty picking this, so I hope it works out in my favor. Because I could see Edge winning it. I could see Roman Reigns winning it. Out of everybody, I feel like the underdog here is Daniel Bryan. And I think that's why I'm going to pick him, because if we had betting odds, if we were to go to one of the betting sites like FanDuel or something like that, he's probably like 5,000 to 1, right? Like he's much lower. Roman Reigns is probably even money. Edge is probably like 1.5 to 1, and I think Daniel Bryan's probably like a 5 to 1 odd here. So I'm gonna go Daniel Bryan just for the surprise factor. And I don't know how this is gonna work out.
Okay, good for you, man. Let's look to the Raw Women's Championship. Asuka and Rhea Ripley. Who do you like?
I'm going with my new girlfriend, Rhea Ripley, please.
Yeah, I think there's a great opportunity to have a new star, and it'll be a great match. I think one of the underrated ones. Randy Orton and The Fiend I think you and I both have to agree that The Fiend, however, if it's a live match or a cinematic match, I think The Fiend has to get over in this one. You would ultimately kill the character if he doesn't go over.
Yeah, I think at this point, right, Randy Orton may be in line for a little bit of time off.
Yep.
So you have The Fiend do some really dastardly stuff. Randy Orton gets to go away for maybe a month and then come back. There's no way that The Fiend doesn't win this, right?
So, can Apollo Crews lose a Nigerian drum fight match?
What the hell is that?
I don't know. I don't care. I don't give it to him. I give it to Big E.
Yeah, so Big E's at home. Big E cut a really fiery promo on Friday night. Look, Big E wins this, and I don't know why you would take the belt off him. It doesn't make any sense to me.
And in the match, the entire WWE Universe wants to see for the 459th time, Kevin Owens taking on Sami Zayn, baby. Kevin Owens goes again to make his record 450-9 against Sami Zayn.
Yeah, I'm going Kevin Owens too. I was so disappointed when this got announced. I was like, come on, again? Again, like, here's the thing. I watch a lot of wrestling with my girlfriend. She's turned into a huge wrestling fan. Like, she loves it. And she's predicting matches and predicting cards and how things lay out now. So they showed the preview for this. They showed the little, run in at the end of towards the end of the show before the Andre the Giant Battle Memorial. And I was like, I don't want to see this match again. And she was like, why? And I was like, these two guys have essentially wrestled their entire career against each other. From the time that they were on the indie scenes to the time that they were in Ring of Honor to the time that they've been in NXT to freaking here. And these guys all the time wrestle each other. And it's just, I'm done with it. I'm over it.
All right.
Now, there's never been two wrestlers that have been so intertwined with each other.
It's unbelievable. What? Hey, maybe WrestleMania 47, they'll be back at it in their retirement match. You never know. Oh. The United States Championship match, Riddle taking on Sheamus. I would love if Sheamus got the belt, but Riddle looks good with it. His character is just unbelievable, and he'll have an opportunity to put his name on the bigger stage. Riddle goes over in this one.
See, that's funny because I thought they had a fantastic match the other night, and look, I think Matt Riddle ends up winning at Fastlane, gets to keep his belt, gets to go to WrestleMania, and I think Sheamus ends up losing at Fastlane. Now they're in this match together. I think the way WWE books, it's usually 50-50, which helps build nobody up. I think Sheamus ends up as the new United States champion.
Ooh, Sheamus, the new champion, according to the Jock. Interesting stuff there. All right. Do we get new Raw Women's Tag Team Champions? I don't think so. I think that Nia Jax and Shayna Baszler remain the Women's Tag Team Champions.
I think we get new champs. Look, how do you want to put the point on this one? So do you want to do it as to be determined gets the point, or do you want it to specifically have to be in this case we both picked Dana Brooke and we both picked Mandy Rose. So, because the way I think this should play out, whoever wins that match, whether we get the point on night one or we don't get the point on night one, I think it should be TBD or Nia Jax, Shayna Baszler. Because I'm going to go TBD.
You're taking the field, huh? Okay, yeah, no problem. Take the field.
Okay, so I'm going to go Nia Jax. You're going to go, or I'm going to go the field, and you're going to go Shayna Baszler and Nia Jax.
Yep.
Picks, we're locked up at 3, still tied.
Yes. Now, I think in the early prediction, I think I win off of the Riddle Sheamus match. I think you take potentially in regards to the triple threat, I'm not sure Daniel Bryan he's probably a plus 3,000 in the betting situation there. Mm-hmm. So I think I take that. I take the Riddle, and you take the bonus on the Nia Jax title match. So I think I'm going to win by 1. The betting favorite right now going into it is Doc minus 200, baby. So bet on the Doc. Jock's taking the long shot. So if you're into the situation where you're looking at who has the favorite here, I think Doc goes in the favorite, but Adam is taking the long shot here to go for the win, which would be epic to go with Daniel Bryan and new women's tag team champions and Sheamus. That would be Adam's going for a complete reset on WWE as well. I can't wait to see who wins it. It's the biggest night of the year. 2 nights. It has a chance to be an amazing card. All right, cuz, hit me with this week's professional wrestling news and notes, and let's get out of here.
All right, next week, the Wednesday Night Wars are officially over as NXT has conceded and moved to Tuesday nights. Now, this was probably more of an NBC call than a WWE call, but in the perspective of everybody who's basically watching, this is going to go down as an AEW victory. And Doc referenced this early on. This has caused a ripple effect by having Impact move to Thursdays. NXT is now going to be on Tuesday. So your week of wrestling will go as follows. Monday, you'll have Raw. Tuesday, you'll have NXT. Wednesday, you'll have AEW. Thursday, you will have Impact. Friday, you will have SmackDown. If we have any type of AEW or NXT pay-per-view, it's going to be on a Saturday probably. Sundays will probably consist of WWE Red or Blue brand pay-per-views, sometimes an AEW pay-per-view. So, the way it looks, if we have tons and tons and tons and tons of wrestling, you'll be watching wrestling 7 days a week. Shoot me now. Speaking of AEW, Chris Jericho, this is nuts. When I say this is crazy, this is absolutely batshit crazy. Chris Jericho is going to be on the Stone Cold Steve Austin Broken Skulls podcast after WrestleMania on Sunday night.
Nice.
Now, this is some pretty interesting stuff because Vince McMahon has to okay this, and Vince allowed this. Now, CM Punk has an opinion on all of this, saying, honestly, my major reaction and opinion on this is I think that it shows Vince doesn't care about AEW, that he's not afraid of them, because if he was at all, he wouldn't have allowed this to happen. And there might be some truth to that. There really might be. But the fact that you are getting, you could argue the driving force. When Chris Jericho went to AEW, that was huge. That was monumental. That was a guy who was in line to go back to WWE and didn't like the creative direction they were going to go, and seen the ability to possibly build something bigger and better, and went to AEW. And we've already talked about what Chris Jericho has done and how fantastic Chris Jericho has been. And this is a guy who really helps out a lot with a lot of the storylines and a lot of the direction that takes place with AEW. And it was a major coup for AEW to get him. For WWE, specifically Vince McMahon, to sign off on this. And he loves Chris Jericho. Him and Chris Jericho have a great relationship. For him to sign off on this is absolutely bonkers to me. Absolutely crazy. All right. So I kind of teased it earlier. There are some rumors swirling around. There are a ton of rumors swirling around what might take place on night one, possibly night two. And I'm going to give you my rationale as to what's going to take place with this rumor if it does happen. If you follow my girlfriend, ex-girlfriend, Becky Lynch on social media, she posted a picture on Instagram of her working out. She looks like she's in fantastic shape. Her ass looks fantastic. But she has basically an anagram that runs down the left side margin of her picture. And it basically spells out night one. And the thought process is Becky Lynch could be going to SmackDown when she returns. And there are rumors that she is supposed to return tonight at the end of night one. Now, let me lay this out for you and how I think this would work, right? And it makes total sense to me. You tell me if I'm batshit crazy, okay? So you've got Bianca Belair. You've got Sasha Banks main eventing night one of WrestleMania. I think one of them is going to win. I think it's going to be Bianca Belair. She comes away the champ. All of a sudden, Becky music's going to hit. Becky Lynch comes down to the ring, and she basically stakes a claim for the SmackDown Championship to be the head of SmackDown. Now, mind you, she was the champion of Raw. She had to forfeit her belt to go have her kid. She gave it to Asuka. Asuka obviously became the champion. So she's coming back for something that she never lost, even though she didn't technically have the SmackDown Championship. She's just coming back for a championship. So I think that's how that's going to play out. So don't be surprised if Becky Lynch shows up night one. And I'm going to be honest with you. Out of all the matches and out of everything we've talked about, that final half hour, so I'm assuming they're going to give the girls 30 minutes to work, that final half hour is going to be the thing that has me gripped the most. Yep.
Ooh, or maybe, just maybe somebody else returns. Let's see. Maybe, you tease that out so that you have people believe, and then somebody else with a big name female personality returns. So let's see.
Who do you think? You gonna throw it out there or no?
No. I'm gonna let people mark out if it does happen. But I think that Becky Lynch is doing her thing to tease night one, so that's really cool to see. Now, just real quickly, I just tweeted you. WWE is getting into this digital stuff. We'll talk about it in future editions. 100K already for the Undertaker's 1-of-1 NFT. You get your own belt. Man, I wish I had 100 G's. I don't know if I would pay it. Dude, those are sweet, but I'm not really into it. To tease it, I'm not into this idea of, like, if I want to watch an Undertaker thing, I can just go watch it. I don't want to own something digitally, you know what I mean? But you never know. We might be two old geezers at this point in time where now the NFL's getting into it, Tom Brady's getting into it. That means there's some money behind it. It just has to.
So explain this to me, right? Because I seen this story and I didn't know how to present it. That's why it didn't make the news and notes.
Yeah,
right?
What is that?
What is an NFT? Because I had no idea what the hell that was.
Basically, what it is that you get to own a piece of footage digitally. And it can be like a market where you can trade it and things like that, where only you own it, you have access to it, but then it can be traded, it can be given away. And basically it's like memories, it's like stuff that, it's like cards. Like let's say for a card, a sports card, you could hold it in your hand physically, but now instead you hold it. Now instead you hold it digitally.
Digitally. Yep. Okay. So, I got it. That makes sense now.
And now the basketball ones just people flipped out over it in regards to, I could have Jordan shot, I could own that digital memory of Jordan hitting that shot over Elo. I own that digital memory. And so basically it's just another way of these leagues that can sell their stuff on a platform, really. But in the end, I don't want to own that digitally because I can just go to YouTube and see it. You know what I mean? But the value comes in is that now if I have that 1-of-1 and it means something, then somebody can come buy it. And you've created a new market. You've created a new product and market for sports fans.
Yeah, you can now trade it too, and
exactly.
That's where I think the real value comes in, is it becomes a tradable commodity.
Exactly. So
okay, I got it now. I was like, I seen the abbreviation. I was like, what the fuck is it? I have no idea what this is.
Yeah, look into it, man. The markets are going crazy all over sports.
Yeah, I know the basketball and I think baseball have been absolutely bonkers with that.
Make sure you follow Adam on Twitter at AdamRSTROZ. Follow the network at Detroit Podcast. And to Adam Salget, don't worry, we're gonna drop our podcast. I was on vacation, man. I woke up at 8:30. I'm like, oh shit, did I oversleep? I drove 16 hours on Friday from South Carolina to Michigan in an amazing drive. Slept, woke up, and right away podcasted with Adam. So this is coming out Saturday. Sorry for the delay. We may tweak the recording schedule because we got to figure out how to mix Impact in because the show is on now Thursday, but we'll figure it out. It's all good, baby. Either Friday, Saturday, the Doc and Jock Wrestling Podcast is going to deliver. Shout out to Adam. I love it when people are like, hey, where's your podcast? But I was on vacation mode, baby, but now I'm back. Now Doc and Jock are ready to take over and continue our great work in the podcasting space and in the wrestling space. So look for it soon. Subscribe, hit that subscribe button, and make sure you find our content every single day.
You know what? Just off the top of my head, and I'll reach out and I'll see what we can do. But because of the way we record now, and the way we have things set up now, maybe, because you've already talked about us adjusting our recording schedule, and I think I have a bit of an idea on how we can kind of make this work. And of course it'll depend on what you've got going on because you're a very, very busy guy. But maybe let's see if we can get Adam on maybe next week and get his reaction to what took place on WrestleMania.
Yeah, why not? It's always a possibility. Either the next one or the week after. Absolutely, we can coordinate it and figure it out.
All right, I'll reach out to him and I'll see what we can do.
Yes, sir. Great podcast, sir. WrestleMania. Everyone enjoy it. Can't wait to break it all down next week. See ya, cuz.
See ya, cuz.